Yo, what's going on, guys? Today I'm going to be going over the MLB slate on DraftKings and Yahoo for Friday, April the 12th. We got a 12-game Friday main slate. Like always, I'm going to go through the pitcher-player pool, talk about some of the pitchers that I like for this Friday night slate. Then we are going to look at 3 hitters that I'm targeting. We'll go over some stacks that I'm looking to play, and then we'll talk about some BVP plays at the end of the video. Just before we do get started, though, guys, I would appreciate it if you would drop a like on the video, and if you are new to the channel, make sure you click that subscribe button down below. I would really appreciate it if you would subscribe if you do enjoy these videos. But let's go ahead and look at pitcher today. So we do have 2 options over 10K on DraftKings. Carlos Carrasco in a road matchup with the Royals, and Patrick Corbin at home against the Pirates. Just looking at these 2 pitchers on this slate specifically, I do like Carrasco here at 11K against the Royals. I'm not going to include him in my core of pitchers because this is definitely a slate where I think we're going to want to try and fit in some of the expensive stacks. We'll go over some of the run totals real quickly. Like, you have the Yankees with a 5.5 implied run total against Lucas Giolito. There are definitely some expensive bats that we want to get into that, or get in from their lineup into our lineups, like obviously Aaron Judge, maybe even Luke Voit, Gary Sanchez. Some of the other higher run totals, the Red Sox, 5.9 implied run total versus David Hess. We definitely want some Red Sox bats today, and they're pretty expensive. Mookie, JD, these guys are over 5K. Mitch Moreland's 4,500, Benintendi's 4,600. Still think they're great plays, even though they're expensive. Then looking at this Rangers Athletics game, I think both sides of this game make for great stacks, whether you go to the Rangers or the A's. These teams are actually not that expensive, especially the Rangers. Rangers are probably like my favorite cheap stack because the most expensive player on the Rangers is Joey Gallo at 4,900, and then everyone else is either 4,200 or below. So you can definitely find some value in the Rangers. The A's as well have got some pretty cheap bats besides Chris Davis. Everyone's like 42 or 4,100 or below. Matt Chapman's 4,600, but other than that, like Simeon's 42, Steven Piscotty's 4,100, Pender 44, Kinsler Morales 3,700. Definitely some value in that A's lineup. And then even you could look to this Seattle and Houston game if you want to play some Astros against Wade LeBlanc. I think that makes a ton of sense. With how hot the Mariners have been, if you want to stack the Mariners against Wade Miley, I think that makes sense as well. Those stacks aren't necessarily cheap, but I do like some of the expensive bats in that Mariners lineup, especially like the top 1 through 3, top of that order, those righties versus Wade Miley. So this is a slate where I think I'm going to try and prioritize bats, try and fit in some expensive bats. And there is some cheaper pitching that I like, not like dirt cheap pitching, but not to where I need to pay 11K for Carrasco. Like in lineups where I probably stack the Rangers, who are relatively cheap, I'll probably have Carrasco in those lineups. But lineups where I'm trying to fit in the Red Sox, the Yankees, the Athletics, I'll be looking to a cheaper pitcher other than Carrasco. And that cheaper pitcher I like is J.A. Happ. He's $1,800 cheaper than Carrasco. On DraftKings and on Yahoo, Carrasco's 52 and Happ is 43. Happ has a great matchup today at home against the White Sox. This is a White Sox team that does strike out quite a bit, especially versus left-handed pitching. You have plenty of Ks in this lineup. If we look at their projected lineup, look at some of the strikeouts in this lineup. Yohan Moncada strikes out a lot versus lefties. Yonder Alonso will strike out versus lefties. Adam Engel will strike out. Jose Rondon will strike out. Even the top of this lineup, Tim Anderson's pretty good versus lefties, but he still strikes out quite a bit. Jose Abreu is pretty good versus lefties as well, but you can still strike out Abreu. Luis Garcia is not the best hitter, and he will definitely K as well. Just a 3.6 implied run total for the White Sox. Yankees are heavy favorites as well at minus 227. I know J.A. Happ has not looked good this year, especially through his first 2 starts against Baltimore. He's faced Baltimore twice this year. Really hasn't looked that good, but I think this is a get-right spot for J.A. Happ. I think he scores over 20 to 25 DraftKings points. Wouldn't be surprised if he gets 30 DK points in this matchup. This is definitely a spot where J.A. Happ could probably get close to double-digit strikeouts. So I like him quite a bit on DK at 9,200. I think just in that same price range, if you want to go to Eduardo Rodriguez against the Orioles, you could definitely look there. I like Erod quite a bit on Yahoo. He's 37, relatively cheaper. Like, you could play Erod and Arrieta if you want to do Arrieta. I think Arrieta is a pretty good play as well against the Marlins. If you were to pair those 2 guys together, you could definitely pay it for some expensive bats. So Erod, Arrieta as other SP1 options or even SP2 options. you could definitely look there. Drew Pomeranz, I don't love at 8,100 on DraftKings, but I do want to talk about him on Yahoo. He's all the way down here at $28, just $3 off the minimum. I like Drew Pomeranz quite a bit as a SP2 on Yahoo, where he's so cheap. He pairs very nicely with J. Happ. If you play Happ and Pomeranz together, you're still left with an average of $16 per player, which you can easily work around on Yahoo, especially if you stack the Rangers. They're pretty cheap. Some A's bats are cheap as well. And although Pomeranz, another guy that hasn't looked that good this year to start off, he has had some tough matchups facing the Dodgers, obviously a very good team, and the Rays, surprisingly this year, have been a pretty good offensive team as well. Now he gets to face this Rockies team that has really been struggling lately. Just their lineup is not good right now. Look at their projected lineup. You have Jonathan Daza, who I'm not even sure who that is, projected at second. Obviously, Blackman's a problem, Arenado's a problem, Story's a problem, but besides those three guys, Ian Desmond I'm not really concerned with, especially in this ballpark and this very pitcher-friendly park in Oracle Park. You have Josh Fuentes batting sixth, who's not a very good hitter. Chris Iannetta, not that great of a hitter. Garrett Hampson, not that great of a hitter. And then you have the pitcher as well. There's a very low total in this game as well, 3.6 implied run total for the Rockies, 4 implied run total for the Giants. I think you can play both pitchers in this game. We're going to talk about Chad Bettis on DraftKings, where he's just 5,800. I think he definitely is a good value SP2, especially in that matchup with the Giants. Where Pomeranz is 8,100 on DK, I would probably look elsewhere, but where he's 28 on Yahoo, where he's so cheap over here, one of the cheapest pitchers available, I think he makes a ton of sense on Yahoo. But I did mention Chad Bettis. He's not a very good pitcher. He has not looked good this year, but he's 5,800 and he's facing the Giants in Oracle Park, so it's hard for me to avoid Chad Bettis today. It's just such a good matchup, especially with how I want to pay up for bats today. Looking for a cheap SB2, Chad Bettis just really stands out down there at 5,800. The matchup's just so good. The ballpark's so good for pitching. I really don't see Chad Bettis getting blown up here. I think he can easily give you 15 to 20 DraftKings points in this matchup. There's plenty of strikeouts in this Giants lineup as well. I could easily see Chad Bettis going 5-6 innings, getting like 5 strikeouts, maybe giving up 1 or 2 runs, probably getting a win, which probably gives you about 15, 20 DraftKings points. 5,800, that could definitely be doable on a slate where you could have guys like Aaron Judge, Mookie Betts, Chris Davis. These guys could all hit 2 home runs, and I wouldn't be surprised today. So where I'm trying to pay up for expensive bats, I think Chad Bettis at 5,800 just makes so much sense as a very cheap SB2 if you do want to roll him out there. Might be a tad bit risky, but at 5,800, I'm willing to take that risk, especially since I want to get in some expensive bats. So those are probably like the core pitchers, the guys I mentioned. Other guys you could potentially play, just looking through the player pool for some options. I wouldn't mind Brad Keller at home against the Indians. This Indians lineup's just not very good right now. Hasn't looked good this year. 7,100 for Brad Keller. Wouldn't mind going there if you do want to play him. I think he stands out as another option, but just looking over the slate real quickly, talking about the pitchers that I feel like I'm going to be playing today. Definitely Carrasco, if I can pay up for him, if I go with a cheap stack. Carrasco will be a guy I try and put in there. J. Happ, another expensive option I like. Erod, Arrieta, definitely going to be in my player pool. And then value pitchers, Drew Pomeranz on Yahoo is going to be in my player pool. Chad Bettis is a value pitcher. And Brad Keller is a value pitcher. That's probably the guys I'm looking to today. I'll be mixing and matching all those pitchers across all the lineups that I play today. But now let's talk about some hitters that we can look to on this slate. So the first guy that I like is at second base. He's a value play, really, really cheap. It's kind of the value stack I talked about. The Rangers really like Rougned Odor as a value. If you need to go cheap at second base, I think he's one of the better cheap options at 3,800. I like him on Yahoo as well at second base. $10 over here, one of the better values on Yahoo as well, in my opinion. We look at this Rangers lineup and their implied run total. 5.1 implied run total today versus Mike Fiers. Great spot for the Rangers to really get things going. This team has not been very good offensively this year, but Mike Fiers is not a good pitcher. He's having to pitch in the Rangers Stadium in Globe Life Park, which is one of the more hitter-friendly parks. Mike Fiers, outside of Oakland Stadium, has really struggled, especially in past years, or at least last year when he was pitching with Oakland. He really struggled on the road. He did well when he was at home, but on the road he really struggled, and I feel like this is a spot where Fiers is definitely going to give up some runs. I love doing a game stack here if you want to play, or if you want to stack both of these teams. I think that makes a ton of sense. I think we're going to see plenty of runs in this game. You have a ton of cheap bats in this Rangers lineup. Chu, Odor, Andrus, Mazzara. All four of those guys are 4,200 or below. Gallo's like the only expensive guy, and I think he is worth his price tag today. If you can fit in Joey Gallo. Even Cabrera's at 4,200. The 7 through 9 with Forsythe, Connor Felifa, DeShields, I'll probably be avoiding those guys. The 1 through 6, though, from the Rangers, I do really, really like today, especially when you factor in their price tags. So love me a Rangers stack, and I love some Rougned Odor today at 3,800. And then another team I really like is Boston. Love Mookie Betts in this spot versus David Hess. He's 5,400 on DK. He's $25 on Yahoo. Definitely think Mookie Betts is worth this price tag given the matchup today versus Hess. And I think a lot of these Red Sox bats are worth their price tags. David Hess, probably one of the worst pitchers in the league. This dude gives up a ton of home runs to both sides of the plate. I'm going to be stacking the Red Sox up a ton today. They have a 5.9 implied run total. They're going to be pretty popular, but I just don't see how they don't score runs here. Hess is just so bad as a pitcher. So love the Red Sox bats. Benintendi, Mookie, Moreland, JD, Bogarts. These guys are great plays. Rafael Devers. Pedroia, Bradley, Vasquez, I would probably be avoiding. Maybe I'll throw in some Jackie Bradley, but don't really see myself playing Pedroia or Vasquez. The 1 through 6 from the Red Sox is where I'm really looking to today. They're another one of my favorite stacks. Red Sox, Rangers, two teams I love. And then the other team I love is on the other side of that Rangers game. Love me some Oakland bats here. Chris Davis, been one of the hottest hitters in the league as of late, and I'm going right back to him. It feels like I've been playing this dude almost every day, but I'm going to continue to do it. He's just mashing the ball right now. Has homered twice in 2 straight games. So he had 2 home runs on Thursday, had 2 home runs on Wednesday. Honestly, wouldn't be surprised if Chris Davis hits 2 home runs again here against Drew Smyly. It's a great matchup facing a lefty that just doesn't strike anybody out, will give up home runs. It's a great hitter's park. And if I'm not mistaken, Chris Davis has some great history in Texas. Whenever he faces the Rangers in Texas, he always seems to do very well. Always seems to hit home runs in this ballpark. And it makes sense because the ballpark's just so great for hitters. The weather right now is pretty favorable for hitters as well. If I can get to it, 76 degrees, 40% humidity, definitely some good hitting weather. So Chris Davis, 4,900. Great spend-up option as well in the outfield. Love Chris Davis today. Probably one of my favorite plays on the slate. But yeah, these are my 5 plays for DraftKings and 5 plays for Yahoo today. These are 5 players that I really like. Now we'll go over some stacks real quickly, and then we'll talk about BVP plays before we end the video. So I mentioned some of my favorite stacks. I think number 1 overall is probably going to be the Red Sox. The Athletics are going to be a close second. The Rangers are going to be a close third. And then I do like the Yankees as well for a 4 stack. So those 4 teams I mentioned, those are the 4 teams that I'm really going to be loading up on. But secondary stacks that we could look to, maybe not have as much exposure to, but could be a part of our player pool. If you want to consider like some Padres bats versus Luke Weaver, I wouldn't mind going there. Some Astros bats versus Wade LeBlanc, I think you can also look to those. Those guys, especially like Springer through Correa. Mariners bats as well versus Wade Miley. But the primary stacks, the teams I'm really loading up on are the Red Sox, A's, Rangers, and Yankees. The 4 teams I love today. But that's it for stacks. Let's go over BVP plays real quickly before we end the video. So since it is a 12-game slate, there is a lot of BVP plays. I'm just going to try and cover the ones that really stand out. So Tim Anderson, 6 for 10 with a home run off of J. Happ. Starlin Castro, 4 for 10 off of Jake Arrieta. Freddie Freeman, great BVP versus Zach Wheeler, 10 for 19 with 2 home runs. Let's see here. Ellis Andrus, 7 for 23, 2 home runs off of Mike Fiers. Odor, 5 for 22, 2 home runs off of Fiers. Whit Merrifield, 7 for 17, home run off of Carrasco. Wade LeBlanc, or Josh Reddick, 6 for 13 off of Wade LeBlanc with a home run. Lastly, Edwin Encarnacion, probably the top BVP play on the slate. If you really believe in BVP, Edwin Encarnacion gone 7 for 16, 3 home runs off of Wade Miley. He's really hit him well. But I think that's it for BVP, guys. I think that is it for the video. So hopefully you guys did enjoy this video. Hopefully it did help you. If you enjoyed the video, just make sure you click that like button down below. Make sure you subscribe if you have not already. And if you do have any questions, feel free to leave them down in the comment section below. Or you can hit me up on Twitter at the DFS_GOAT. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Hopefully you enjoyed, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.